Speaking of the Batman, let's talk about the Penguin, part of the epic crime saga. We have to talk about the penultimate episode a little bit. I wanted to do also just how we're feeling after our mid-season recap. After our break, last time we talked, we had the Centani episode. We had Sofia Falcone, basically her solo episode with Christine Milioti. Right now, we had the penultimate where we get backstory on Oz Cobb, him as a child. We found out more about him and his relationship to his brothers, right? Kind of the origins of the darker side of Oz Cobb, his relationship to his mother deepened, and his relationship to Rex Calabrese also deepened. Ricky Flex, before we get into like the penultimate, I just wanted to ask, how do you think the second half is doing? Is it have enough juice that the first half did?
I think so. It's tough. Like we talked about the mid-season finale and how, man, the back half has a lot of work to do, right? But if you look at like what has happened, what has transpired on paper, it's done everything we could have ever dreamt of, right? Just look at this penultimate episode, right? A bunch of stakes that we got some answers to, and a lot. And this is spoilers, right?
Yeah. This has been out for
Dude,
four or
think
5 days.
about what happened. Major penultimate HBO penultimate episode level things happened in this. The huge bomb, Maroney dead, Oz mom kidnapped. Like a bunch of things were going on in this penultimate that lived up to that HBO moniker. So yes, I think it has. It's just how are they going to close it? That's obviously the biggest question of all, right? That's not then the most obvious. But it's like, how are you going to wrap this up? Because every episode, you're writing Oz into a corner, and he somehow gets out of it. And now you really wrote him into a big corner here, or a tight corner, however you want to say that analogy. And how are you going to get him out of it while also making sense? And also, are you going to link it to the Batman or not? Right? That's the real, how are they going to finish this is the real question.
I think the second half has been really, really good. I don't think it's been at the level of the first half of the season, and that's expected because that was outperforming anything I even imagined the show was going to. This second half, I think Colin Farrell has taken the show back from Kristen Milioti. I think Kristen Milioti kind of stole the show for the first 4 episodes, but I don't think she's sizzling like she did as much in the first 4 episodes. Do you agree with that?
There's a reason behind that, though.
Yes, and that's why I'm also going to say it's her not wanting to be her father. That's a huge storyline here, and it makes me think like maybe what's it going to look like if she lives beyond this season? I think there's a chance she doesn't if she's showing any type of like I don't want this life, I don't want your life type of thing with her dad. But I think there are scenes with Colin Farrell. What was one of the best scenes, and I can list a litany of them, but the scene where he is garnering support from all the rival gangs and asking them to be on his side, to trust him against Maroney and Gigante, right? And their power duo, having him make that soliloquy, that speech, that like basically for 3-4 minutes, and it felt like Colin Farrell Emmy moment in his bag. That's where I said, like, okay, this is back to being his show. Like, Sofia can go through her shit right now. She had her moment. Let's get back to the titular character. He just firmly took this back, in my opinion. I think he has been even better in the second half. He's elevated.
He's the guy, right? He's the guy. He's the reason we're watching the show, not Sofia Falcone. So yeah. I'm glad it did that, right? And you hinted at it. Yeah, I think Sofia Falcone should not live past this season. And I'm not saying that because I'm rooting for Oz or whatever. I just think it wouldn't make sense unless they somehow change it in this final episode. I think they should kill this character off and just end it on a high note.
So I think she should not live past this because it's not really you in the Batman Part 2. Like, I'm wondering how it's going to lend to, right, the future of this saga. How it goes into Oz, what's his role in the next movie? Because you're going to see the Penguin in the future of the Batman. Sofia, you don't need in the future of the Batman. You just don't. And so it makes you think, okay, she is probably 1 or 2 on the chopping block. Definitely 1 or 2 on the chopping block for this finale. The mom's got to go. the mom's done.
Mom's
The
off
mom
though.
had her moment in this penultimate, the one-on-one with Sofia Gigante, and her background being revealed, her working with Rex Calabrese, all right, or albeit reluctantly during that situation, but her not backing down, but also finding more about her relationship to Oz and the darkness that goes with that relationship, why they have been on their own for all these years. I think this character had their moment in this episode, and it's going to lead to heartbreak and almost a little bit of karma for Oz and the selfishness of him wanting the sole attention of his mother compared to his brothers, right? From this penultimate episode, when they have the flashback, they go through Oz basically being responsible for the death of both of his brothers. I can see her 1 and 2 with Sophia on the chopping block.
Yeah, the mom's got to go too, because we've kind of
the delivery when you say that. After I talk for like 3 minutes, you're like, yeah, she's got to go too.
By the way, the flashbacks in this season have been great. I think they really, they tell you without telling you with dialogue, right? What's going on, meanings behind it, like with Oz and being the mama's boy, wants her for himself, right? He wants to be the man in the house, and like the mom obviously sees the ambition, like, it's these flashbacks are great.
They are very similar to like almost the Sopranos flashbacks, but they're better acted. The Rex Calabrese character is someone you would see cast in a Sopranos flashback episode.
Dude, that's a great point. And yes. Dude, when I saw him, I just rolled my eyes. I was like, damn, like I thought Rex Calabrese was going to be a lovable guy. But right when I saw him, I knew what was going to happen because, dude, that guy is an absolute like asshole, like an all-time a-hole.
Scumbag.
Flower Moon.
Yeah.
And Killers of the Flower Moon, he wanted to kill his own children to get money. Like insane.
He was a messed up guy in that movie.
And then like in The Irishman, he was messed up in that too. So like right when I saw him, I was like, oh, yeah, Oz is idolizing the bad figure or wrong figure. Like he's not who he thinks he is. Yeah, like I saw that just by the freaking casting choice. So I love how you said that with the Sopranos flashback. And I just think with the mom's character, she had her spotlight. She got it. But this episode was a nice little like ending of like, you don't know Ozzy, you don't know him. And then she goes crazy for a sec, or she goes delusional for a second and then comes back. Like she had her spotlight, and now it's time, retire. You're off, you're off, like you're good. You're done.
This must be the moment Colin Farrell was talking about when he was saying with this flashback episode, the flashback moment, this is the moment you're not going to like the Penguin. You're not going to like Oz Cobb because of his hand in basically the death of his brothers. Do you think this was that moment?
I think it's the next episode.
Wow, it gets even worse because this is where I had a question for you. When did Oz know what he was doing to his brothers? Did he know when he locked them there he was going to kill them? Is it when he was back at home with his mother? When was the moment where you're like, he knows what's happening to his brothers?
There was one scene when they're sitting on the couch watching Fred Astaire, and then he looks out the window. And then
same thing.
Yeah, and he realized it's like crap, because like before that there was a couple other times he was going around the apartment, like he knew where his brothers were, but he's like, oh, they're gonna come back, right? But then at that scene when he finally gets the movie night with his mom, alone time, and he looks out the window and goes, oh my god, like are they like that's what I think. And then he goes to the TV and starts chuckling, right? That's what I think. It was kind of like the oh, there it is moment.
It's that moment. It's a couple of different things. It starts with him staring out the window, seeing all the rain coming down, because he might be too young to really know what exactly is about to happen. But to have his mom to himself, and to also be watching the Fred Astaire, and to see the moment where he chuckles to himself, it's when the person is like using the cane as a gun and he's killing all these people. And it's supposed to say like there's a darkness taking over this kid. Like this is where he is okay with the death of his brothers as long as he gets his mother, right? Doing whatever to get what he wants.
It was creating like that monster or gangster,
That was the moment. That was the moment, and where he was okay with it. He was lying beforehand that they were going to see a movie, and he was saying, what movie did they go see? The mom was saying, what movie did they go see? And really doesn't provide an answer. Really messed up scene. And that was one where I was curdling. I was like, this feels so terrible. This feels so, so awful. And this is like how I should feel about the origins of a Batman villain. Like it should be feeling like this. Like this person isn't someone that we should be necessarily rooting for throughout this season. And I think it's going to lend well to his character in the future with the Batman Part 2, Part 3, maybe. Who knows? Where else do we want to go here, Ricky Flex? Salvatore Maroni, Clancy Brown. So you were right about your prediction that you were eventually going to get the showdown between Oz and Sophia at the end. I was wrong about that, but I will say and take claim that I knew Clancy Brown was going to take center stage in a lot of these scenes in the second half. And Clancy Brown has been great. He has been so good. He is so reliable. He's one of the great. Oh shit, we did a Omia Coke, yeah, the whole thing. But to see him with Sophia pushing aside his familial differences because of his hate for Oz, we get the showdown with him and Oz. I kind of liked his death a lot, to be honest, and it's because Oz doesn't do it. He's probably not physically capable of killing like Clancy Brown's, think of him at stature, like compared to Oz Cobb, but he has a heart attack in front of Oz. Oz literally killed him, murdered his family, burned his his wife and his son alive, and then gave the father a heart attack. He kind of murdered him through a broken heart. And so when he's saying I got you in front, standing over him as if he's a cornerback who just swatted away a pass from a quarterback, denied a receiver, standing over him. I'm just like, he kind of did get him. As much as he didn't really kill him, he got him because he just basically destroyed his life. I thought it was kind of appropriate.
Right, and he dies of a heart attack. The symbolism there. And when he says, I got you, you thought of the Batman, right?
Yeah.
And him in the Maserati that's pointing at the mirror, I got you. Exactly. So that was a great scene. Another great scene that I think I've been kind of wanting to see is that, this is the Penguin, right? And the Batman, he's kind of like the number 2 behind Falcone. Not number 2, sorry. He's a lower level guy. And here's he's trying to work his way up, right? And this was we've been seeing him he's running his own Bliss operation. He kind of is doing well with that, obviously before what happens here at the end. But we're starting to see him come up to be the Penguin, right? That we know him, that it should be a A-list or high B-list Batman villain, right? He's not there yet, but I think we're starting to see signs of that. And another example here is during the showdown of Sophia and his mom was saying, you don't know Oz. He's always 2 steps ahead of you. And the next scene, what was it? It was the Maroni scene. And he was 2 steps ahead of Maroni, right? So you start to see it, right? He's still not all the way there. Obviously, what happens at the end clearly shows he is not on his he's not that A-lister yet. But this final episode, what has he got up his sleeve? Who was in this episode? Vic. He was barely in it. But I sent him away. We got something cooking for the final episode. I can't wait for it. And hopefully it's we're here. He is the Penguin now. He lives up to the moniker.
He's got something cooking, but it's certainly not Bliss. The Bliss operation is blown up. So I also was wondering, okay, what if he defeats Sophia and he uses Vic and his associates to take down Sophia? I guess he's the top of the game, but what is he the top of the game of if he has nothing? That's where I'm just trying to think, is this guy going to be in a position where he's filling the power vacuum, right? Where he is the leader of crime in Gotham City. But what does that even look like? He has maybe different type of drug trade that he's going to be going through, but I have a hard time imagining after that Bliss thing blows up and it was in its infancy, maybe it goes on to be super profitable, but now that he doesn't have that, what is he going to do? So that's where I'm just kind of questioning, is he going to be where we thought he was going to be at the beginning of this season? Or is he going to be still kind of fighting? He's higher on the hierarchy. He's higher on the in the hierarchy right now. He's ascending, but is he going to be at that pinnacle? I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. We got to wait to see what happens in the finale.
I'll
Other
be
thing,
disappointed if he doesn't. I'll say that. Like this whole show is the point is to see his ascension into becoming the Penguin that we know, right? If we don't see that, I will be disappointed, and I will say they did not land the plane.
so you think that's a failure if he's not the top of the crime game? Under
Correct.
the
I think that has to happen, and I'm not saying it for the Batman Part 2 implications. If the Penguin's not even in the Batman Part 2, I'll say, okay, fine. I don't need him in it, you know. But I just need to see the trajectory of this character has been validated, right? And that's again, it's the whole point of the show. And clearly, with Sophia, what with the scene with Gia, and like obviously, like she realizes I am my dad.
she's
This
softening.
to blow up the Bliss drug, the Bliss what's it called operation, and like just to do that, saying, okay, if you, I don't want it. Like I don't want to be my dad. So you know what? I'm just not. I hate you so much. I'm gonna be spiteful. Neither of us are gonna have it because I want out. I want out of this game, and I want you gone. Right. So it's like she blows up her own drug, and now it's just like that final piece of the revenge is like killing the mom, killing Oz, and like trying to like maybe go to Italy or whatever. But Oz has to win. He has to win, or else this show, I don't know what the point of it was.
There will be some very interesting implications if his mother dies at the hands of Sophia. I think because Sophia has made it has made it really like the second half. It's like she doesn't want to become her father. She spared Penguin's significant other partner, stripper, another stripper of the episode making an appearance here, like spared her for information. She's going to kill a mother, after she was like framed for her father's killings and her mother was hanged. I think there's going to be something like almost full circle that happens in this episode. Maybe apprehension from Sophia to kill Oz's mother. Maybe Oz's mother truly is bait, So we'll see what happens there. So maybe I even in like the chopping block, maybe Sophia 1 and then the mother 2, in terms of like who will die. Either way, I think there's a good chance they both die. But like, be honest.
Here's my last thing on it is that to complete this ascension, right? Oz has to be completely free. He can't have anything holding him back, right? His mom is holding him back from becoming, the Penguin as we know. So with his mom dying in episode 8, it will allow Oz to rise up and have nothing holding him back. No barriers to reach that top of the top, right? That ascension that we keep talking about. So if his mom stays around, he'll never be able to reach that because there's always something that his enemies will have against him. That's why she has to die in this episode or episode 8, and he will reach the whole point of the show being the top of Gotham crime.
Do we see Batman? I know Matt Reeves has said he will not appear, but I do think there's going to be a significant mention of Batman in the finale. And I say that because there has been an explosion at Crown Point that is unavoidable. That is just like, this has happened. Something needs to be done. So I think we do get a significant mention of Batman, especially going into the Batman Part 2 after this finale.
It would be tough not to mention him because I think before this episode, you could play off as like, oh, this is just like, oh, crime in Gotham just happens every day, right? And the Batman can't be everywhere, and the Batman's not going to be involved in mob tactics and wars and things like that, right? But there's a freaking hole in the center of the city or on the coast of the city. Like, he's going to go investigate that one night. So now in episode 8, do I want to see him? No, I don't. I want the Batman to stay to the big screen. So we do not want to see him. But it's kind of hard to do what they did at the end of episode 7 and say like, the Batman's just doing other stuff. Yeah, it's kind of tough because that is such a significant event in Gotham.
Do you think that if we don't get Batman, maybe we get a tease of who the villain will be in the Batman Part 2?
Ooh, that's a big one. I don't think so. I think they're saving that. They don't want to, again, this movie's not again, but the Batman Part 2 is not coming out until 2026. They're not going to tell us now.
I don't know. Maybe casting happens sooner rather than later. I think they're starting production early 2025. Maybe they start casting. Who knows, Ricky Flex? But I do want to see a little bit more lore if it's going to connect into the Batman Part 2, because this show has kind of stayed away from all that.
which I liked.
I do want to say a couple flaws here. Julian Rush character, he needs to
Tough.
do something in the finale for me to really justify that he should have existed in the show in the first place. He sucks.
Dude, to give him the Hush character.
Is that the Hush character though? I don't think so. I thought the Hush character was Thomas Elliott.
Oh, crap. Okay, so is this guy a random person then?
Not a part of the Batman lore, I don't believe.
Oh, then yeah. All right. So first off, I don't like this actor. I didn't like him in Luke Cage. I didn't like him in Sons of Anarchy. I just don't think he's very good. I said it. I just don't think he's a very good actor, and his character doesn't help him either. So tough character, tough actor. This is like probably my biggest negative with the show is the Dr. Julian Rush character.
Yeah, if he has nothing to do in this finale, I think that he's just a waste of time.
He was using like that red light with the mom.
Very villainy.
So yeah, it's villainy. Something maybe with that in the next episode, perhaps. But if that's what we built up as for this guy, then and like sleeping with Sophia, it's like, all right, like this wasn't necessary.
Dude, his scene stealing roles, him getting whipped by Sophia like in the bedroom. That's like his claim to fame. It's just a very useless seeming character. Other things, I think Oz should have saw the bomb coming in the car. I thought that was, and him leaving and ducking out of the Bliss factory felt very comic book. If this movie has been pretty grounded, that moment, just enough time to close the door, it explodes. Like it felt like it was straight out of like to be continued last page of a comic book.
Yeah, like they did it like you knew that was a bomb. That was obvious. And to play devil's advocate, it's like, oh, Oz thinks that Sophia. So Oz doesn't know that Sophia is having second guesses about the game, right? He thinks like, oh, she's trying to lead her own family, be like her dad. He doesn't know what has happened with her on a personal level, right? So he's thinking, oh, no way she's going to blow up my operations. I'm technically giving her the operations in exchange for my mom, right? And she's like, it was her idea for the Bliss. This is basically her operations that Oz stole, right? Her drug. So no way she's going to blow it all up, right? So I guess that's the devil's advocate argument of it. And also, like, I did think, like, oh, when they open up the trunk and you saw the coat, that was kind of clever. And like Oz tearing up, Colin Farrell, shout out. It's like, all right, maybe this isn't, but obviously it was a bomb.
Overall, this penultimate, very entertaining. Oz in his bag. I can't wait to see what happens here. Colin Farrell, I can't get enough of him as the Penguin. What are the implications coming for the Batman epic crime saga? A ridiculously named universe that has been freaking awesome, right? In terms of the Batman as a project, the Penguin as a project, the Batman Part 2. They're hinting at future shows for this crime saga leading into the Batman Part 3. This universe has got it going on, right? They have it going on right now. They need to finish strong with this finale.